Happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of the Cyber Queens podcast, where we are here trying to help more women get into and succeed within the cybersecurity industry, as we have done today. We're discussing a very hot topic. It's at the top of everybody's minds, literally. So we're going to be discussing security in AI with a dash of imposter syndrome and cybersecurity leadership with the very distinguished Chloe. And the first point I'm going to make today is that we're busting some myths here on Cyber Queens, because I've been calling her Chloe for years, and turns out her name is Chloe. So we are here with Chloe Messdaghi, and we are very, very, very excited to have you. So thank you so much for being here with us
Thanks
today.
for having me, and thank you for myth busting this Chloe thing.
I got you. That's for all the times I've been called Morel or Marl, and I'm like, why? Why do you do that? Stacy's got pains as well. Apparently, like, people will just try to mess up your name no matter what. They'll do what they can.
Ignore everything after the S and the T, and my name just becomes Stephanie.
So here we've got Morel, Chloe, and Stephanie sitting down here to have a conversation.
So Chloe has an impressive background. She's been featured in Forbes and Business Insider, won awards, and just all around has made such a name for herself, for yourself, in this small niche in our industry. But, you know, behind all of that is always a story, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that you didn't just start out on top, right? Like, you had to make your way there.
I don't think we did.
Your niche and everything.
Oh, yeah.
We just woke up one day, said I was going to do it, and then by tomorrow we were getting all the awards, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, Chloe, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in cyber and you know, rose up in the ranks?
I mean, how far do you want me to go? When I was like 2, 5? No, just kidding.
I'm gonna highlight reel.
Cybersecurity.
Yeah, like I always
montage
reel. Yeah.
Well, I can definitely say that I was a management consultant in tech, and then in like 2017, I had an opportunity to work for a cybersecurity company. When I went to go work for a cybersecurity company, I was kind of stunned by the lack of diversity. And that, in my first year, I called quits. I kid you not. I was like, I'm out of here. Like, this industry needs some serious work.
You thought cyber would be better.
Yeah, I'm laughing to myself about.
I mean, like, if I think about it, I'm like, wow, general tech industry, way better than cybersecurity, and that was on fire. Like Brotopia book on fire. But the thing is that in my first year, I absolutely hated my experience. I could not believe that women and people of color were putting up with this on a daily basis and not losing their mind. And so one of my colleagues basically told me about this event called Day of Security. And I went to it, and I was, for the first time in cybersecurity, didn't feel alone anymore. I was like, oh my God, there are women in this industry. Oh my God, there are people of color in this industry. And everyone has very similar stories to share, which is not feeling included, not feeling like they belonged. And I remember being really empowered because I grew up in Oakland, so there's always this part of me that's like, when I see injustice in the world, I want to step up. And that really still stays with me to this day. And so I went back to my place, and I could not sleep. I had all this energy suddenly, and I hyper-focused, and I created a CFP on how do we fix this problem. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to give myself 1 year. If they don't want me in this industry, I will try to force them to have me in this industry. Okay. And so that summer, I submitted a talk to a couple conferences in Las Vegas, and it was accepted at one of the places. And I decided to go volunteer at B-Side San Francisco. And I had in the back of my mind, I wanted to go work for Bugcrowd. Like, I wanted to go to Bugcrowd so bad because I really like the hacker culture. Yep. And so I socially engineered my way into their events to meet with Casey Ellis, one of the founders. And basically I met with the folks there, and I really loved the team there. And so they invited me to their office after that week. And my whole life changed at that time, because I proved to myself that I had the ability of doing that, and that there were people that would support me and open the doors for me. And I think that's the thing that changed everything for my career. If it wasn't for the Day of Security conference, if it wasn't for people that, are also wanting to change things behind closed doors and even in front of everyone in the public, I would not be where I am today. And so that was my journey, basically, from I hate this industry to I still am not the biggest fan of this industry, but I really like the people that I work with and the mission it's on. I mean, we would not have anything in this world or human rights if we didn't have security. So I think that is the thing that keeps me motivated no matter what.
Gosh, it's on the one hand, it's so encouraging to hear that other people have gone through what you've probably gone through, because there are a number of women we met recently at WeSys and, who listen to the podcast and stuff, whose stories are probably very similar. But like for me, my journey started out and I just got support left and right. Like I had, male allies, but I had allies willing to reach their hands out and help me. And that's why I came in with this fire, and it's taken like 5 years for me to really like start to get tired. I'm like, but I was really encouraged early on. Like, so I just took off like a rocket because I had the enthusiasm and people fueled it. And I had that belief in myself, but it's still disheartening to hear that, people go through it like seriously. And there are many women still leaving the industry today. Yeah. But still like, God, I hate my life here. Do I really want to stay here?
Yeah.
It sucks.
It comes in and out. I'm sure all of us at some point every year are like, do I want to stay here?
Have our good days and our bad days. Still? Maybe I'll quit. Maybe I'll come back for lunch. It's
I don't know. It's a toss-up. But yeah.
I was gonna say, we know from studies that women tend to leave the tech industry at age 35 or about the 10-year mark into their role. And yeah, we are, I think maybe it's just the circles that I'm in, right? A little bit biased that way, but like, this is becoming even more and more of a hot topic of like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we fighting so hard against a system and community that continues to give us signs that we aren't worthy or aren't welcome here? But, on the flip side of it, like, you just highlighted so many initiatives and their extreme importance to helping people stay, right? And helping people boost their energy and boost their mindset and boost their enthusiasm for the field and stick around and fight and everything like that. Day of Security and whatnot, just, it's just so important, because I think sometimes people ask like, are these things worthwhile, right? I mean, heck, we just had a conversation last week of like, is it worthwhile to go to conferences still these days? And you bring up a great point, and I think it's something we did mention last time. It's like, if you need a boost, like, this is one of the, like, being able to go surround yourself with other people who, so long as you don't get into like, a toxic negativity circle type thing, and instead focus on like, up ahead, change goals, all that kind of stuff, like, can just be so reigniting for your career.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think the thing is also that right now it's such a weird time in history. Like, I think the thing is, like, you have a lot of companies right now that are going anti-ESG, which is environmental social governance, and going anti-DEI. And so you have states now making, laws that, not to support diversity. And this is a problem because that's going to start impacting our industry. Whatever happens in the world impacts us too. Yeah. And so you're seeing these growing pains right now where, you've gone through like the Me Too movement, and now you're starting to see this thing where women are just like feeling, am I safe here? Yeah. And it's not just women, it's also people of color. It's also people non-binary.
Anyone who's different, anyone who's an outlier. Anyone who's different. Yeah. You're wondering, am I going to walk into this conversation and just feel like I don't belong here?
Exactly. And then people are wondering, why do I have imposter syndrome? Well, if you're not in the room, like with other people like you, and there's all these people saying contrary things about your own rights, you're going to feel disempowered. You're going to feel like, do I know anything? And that becomes a confidence sucker right there.
Well, we are grateful that you did stick it out. We're grateful that every woman chooses to stick it out every day and keep showing up to your jobs, because it's small, but we're making some progress. Like, and we're starting to slip backwards, but we got to keep fighting the good fight. But speaking of imposter syndrome, so you started off where you were, but you've come all this way, and now here you sit, like Stacey said, mentioned in Forbes, Business Insider. We've got 2 advocates of the year sitting on the call right now, right here, Cyber Jutsu Advocates of the Year, fellow cybersecurity woman of the year as well. You won hacker of the year previously. But imposter syndrome. It's kind of a topic we talk about a lot because everyone still feels it. It's still a huge barrier for many people. So do you still encounter that? And if so, like, can you share how you've dealt with it and, what your strategies are?
Yeah. I would say the thing that I always remind myself is that this may be controversial to say out loud, but imposter syndrome is not really, it's a fake thing.
Yes.
It's a fake thing.
Yes.
If you look at it historically, it's a fake thing. However, the feeling of, not belonging, that's going to contribute to imposter syndrome. Anytime that say, for example, you're a woman in a room, and while you're in the room, it becomes kind of like a situation where if you speak and no one hears you, you're being ignored. How is that going to affect you? It's going to affect you over time. And yeah, we can always tell ourselves, well, that's just how things are. Like when women speak in the room and they're the only ones, they either get ignored or someone repeats the same thing that they said or takes credit for the work. And it impacts you, and that that's what's going on. Still, your emotions you still have feelings, you still have emotions. So yeah, it's going to make you feel less of a person. Well, maybe I didn't speak loud enough. Maybe I didn't take up more space in my chair. And it's always like you go and you focus on yourself. How could I make this better about myself? When in reality, it has nothing to do with you. It's about the room in there where people aren't aware of these things. And so now you're taking on this feelings of inadequacy because you've been ignored. So now you're going to have imposter syndrome because you were ignored in the room. You don't feel like you belong because no one's actually listening to you. So yeah, imposter syndrome is a fake thing. It's a thing, if you look at it historically, was a term that was used because women didn't see other women in positions of power or in certain roles. And so for them to be the first ones to do that, it takes a lot of work and energy. And people doubt them. Even they will doubt them consciously or, subconsciously. The thing is, that's how imposter syndrome works. And so for me, I definitely have those moments. I will not. I don't.
Still today?
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time. And it's because, like, I think in society, women, we've been taught to be like people pleasers and perfectionists, right? And so I think anytime where things aren't that way or you don't see it as like amazing or anything like that, then you start you could tear yourself down. And it becomes really bad. And so
that's centuries of systemic bias, right? Teaching us that, like, you're supposed to be perfect, like the perfect hostess, perfectly presentable all the time, perfectly ladylike in your manners. Like, don't be divergent in any way.
Yeah. Don't be loud. Don't have opinions. I mean, like, it's insane if you think about it. And so it's very much ingrained in us. And I mean, acknowledging that's what's going on, that's part one of the problem of solving it. But the second thing is how to deal with the emotions with it. So I'll journal. Yeah. I have like a journal entry that I go back to anytime I'm feeling like pretty much like that way, which lists all the things I've been able to do. So anytime I feel like, oh, why am I doing here? Why are they inviting me to this? I'm no one. I haven't done anything. I go in that list. I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. I did do this. Yeah, I did that. Okay, no, that makes sense. And I have to go over that. And it used to do is like we carried like a little Post-it or like a little flashcard, and I'll write down things. Yeah, and I'll have in my wallet if I was like going to any events to just be like, okay, remind yourself. Remind yourself.
I heart me note. Yeah.
Yeah. Like remind yourself these are things you've achieved and you've worked there. And it's not just out of good luck and good timing. It's also because you worked your butt to get where you are.
And I love that you said that. so many people are like, gosh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky that you're woman of the year and all this. I'm like, no, I'm not lucky. I'm like, I engineered it to be this way. I put in the work and I solicited the support and I got to where I am because I did that, not because I sat back and luck made it happen for me. It's not a thing. I would say for me, imposter syndrome. So like many women out there, I'm a classic career overanalyzer. I will overanalyze till the cows come home. So, you know, if you're just replaying things that have already happened in your mind, or you're fearing things that haven't happened yet, someone told me once, you're either suffering from your imagination or from your memory, and you can't change either. So I do that. So I kind of started to see imposter syndrome as suffering from your imagination. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop competing with everybody else. I'm going to stop competing with the 20-year, 10-year guy. I'm going to stop competing with him. I'm going to stop competing with her. I'm just going to compete with myself. And would 5 years ago me, who just started in cyber, what would she say to me? She'd be like, are you kidding? Like, you've done all these things. You've made all these accomplishments. You published all this work. Like, that is worthy. And I want to be like you one day. And I'm like, you know what? Doing a damn good job.
Be your own role model. You don't need to look to others as role models. Be your own role model.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder if, you know, we've all done ourselves a disservice by naming it imposter syndrome, right? And the ramifications
giving it a label
that have come of that, where that we call it imposter syndrome, and then we treat this, quote, syndrome as something that the individual needs to, you know, take steps to deal with, right? Versus, like, you know, just not giving it potentially a name at all, like rather digging down deep into the components that make up this quote syndrome, which essentially are things that have nothing to do with the individual and everything to do about the systems around them, and like focusing on those, right? So I almost wonder if maybe like we've gotten too comfortable with, you know, this label and just not doing enough around it
and just living in it.
And just living in it. So yeah, I mean, for me, I'm exactly with you, Chloe. I am just so tired of hearing it talked about left and right, and just in a term that
feel like really bad. I included it in the outline now.
No, but like, you know, we have to have these conversations to educate people of the contrary, right? Of the fact that you know, there's nothing wrong with you, and, you know, because there are still times where people out there talking about, imposter syndrome, that's when you feel like you're not good enough, and here's the things that you need to do.
It's the system is broken. Exactly. And this is just one of the symptoms that comes with it when you have a broken system. And then it's on to the person who's dealing with it to deal with it themselves and make it that it's their problem, when in reality it's not just their problem, it's the world problem.
So until we stop having conversations about imposter syndrome, which again, we can't just stop cold turkey, right? Like, we have to have conversations about why we need to stop.
Belonging and anxiety.
To the point. Yeah, and then get to the point of, instead of talking about that, let's talk about the systems that need to be changed, because we're spending way too much time talking about imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
well, I agree. We shouldn't be talking about it. No, I'm kidding.
No, I think you're right. I think like labeling is something different. Like I usually do, I'll label it as like, you know, when I journal, I'll be like, that's anxiety. This could be anxiety. Right. This could be a lack of feeling like you belong, because people in the room aren't aware of certain things. So yeah.
Oh, you know what I do? I just take comments people give me, and I'm like, can I assign that back to something that is not a me problem? Like, I'm like, oh, I see. You said that to me in front of these people because you're feeling insecure.
Yeah.
My success is punctuate your insecurities. I feel so bad for you.
You know, I have to admit, I think my dad, he said it to me many, many years ago. He said the thing that's the most terrifying thing for a male's confidence is an empowered woman. Ooh. But I would like to add on there, I also see that for no matter what gender you are, when you are empowered yourself as someone who's marginalized, people don't like that.
No, they don't. They really are not. They're not ready.
They don't, which is sad because we're in this together. Like,
one way or another, we are, but they don't see it that way.
No.
But doing what Coach Stacy says and putting imposter syndrome to bed for the episode. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But you know, you did beat your imposter syndrome. And speaking of, you are, we haven't talked about what you do today and where you work, which is doing some pretty cool stuff. So, you know, you rose above, and today you are head of threat intelligence at Hidden Layer. And I don't think CTI, which is Cyber Threat Intel, gets nearly enough time in the spotlight. I don't think we talk about it enough. I think there's all these hacking cons and not enough, I'm like, CTI should be influencing everything we do, and it's really not. So tell us, what does being head of threat intel mean in a practical sense, and what are you guys doing over there at Hidden Layer?
Yeah, I would say that I've been with Hidden Layer since January, and to be honest, my number one goal right now is to address the elephant in the room, which is that there is a lack of knowledge around securing AI.
Yes.
I think, and that is my number one thing. We cannot solve anything until people start recognizing that we don't know everything. And we need to learn everything right now.
Wait, what?
Yeah, right? So that's part of my role is right now, my number one thing is trying to get people to understand the real threats right now. I think the thing that people aren't aware of is we have a lot of conversations about, biases and like ChatGPT and ethics and everything like that. And that's all great. That's needed to have. We also need to consider and have conversations about how AI is being built.
Yes.
And so AI systems are being built right now and security is not in the room. Shocker. But the reality is that we still have really, really thick silos. We have data scientists, you have your developers, and then you have your security folks. And we're still in these silos. And this was before
Damn,
AI.
I was over here thinking I was doing a really good job breaking those down and encouraging collaborative security.
Right. But the thing is like no one talks about ownership, accountability, right? So that's the issue right there, right? If you are a data scientist, why would it be your job to do security? You're not taught to do security. That's someone else's job. You go to developers. Developers are more about, I have to push these products out because I'm on a deadline and I have to get the next thing out as soon as possible.
I have to make it work. I just have to deploy.
I have to make it work. And then security is like, you're just handing me all this mess and I don't know how to code or patch these things possibly. And now I have to kind of figure all these things out. And we're deeply insecure. And I didn't know about this for months now. And it's been out in the market.
That's why we don't sleep.
Yeah. And so the thing is like right now is the time where like we already had this problem, but when you introduce AI to it, it's a really, really big problem that we need to fix because AI is loaded with vulnerabilities. Like it's like a candy shop. And so it is one of those things that my role is about, and also for Hidden Layer is right now, the most important thing is to be there and helping guide people as they are starting to learn and ramp up on understanding the insecurities that are within AI. And it is really important at this time that we do that because I believe there's some really important statistics that came out of a report recently. So I'm going to open this report and tell you about them. You see this shiny report, it's free. You can have it online, it's for free. And if you're going to RSA, you can pick up a physical copy if you like. But one scary stat in here is this. 77% of companies reported identifying breaches to their AI in the past year. The remaining were uncertain whether their AI models had seen an attack. So a lot of times people are like, oh, we don't need to worry about it. We haven't seen any big breaches yet. So we don't need to be concerned about it. It's just like,
I hate that mentality. I hate that.
It's solar flare like all over again. Like people
literally,
we need to be proactive at this time, not reactive. Like this is serious stuff. So that's one I like to say on here. The other one is, let's see here. On average, companies have a staggering 1,689 AI models in production. The thing that's really scary right now is that there's a lot of CISOs that aren't even aware that their company is using AI. And they don't know how many models.
Integrating it left and right, and they have no idea what it's doing.
Absolutely. And we already know incident response plans. People are lagging in that. Like no one has an up-to-date incident response. Not nobody, but majority of companies don't have that. And so if you're not incorporating AI in there, well, good luck. Good luck remediating that pretty fast.
Yeah. So Chloe, like, let's say I'm a security person on a security team in an organization. I know that they are interacting with AI. They're either thinking about purchasing, they're thinking about building, or they're already doing it, right?
Yeah.
So as a security person, what should I be thinking? What should I be doing? What are some like first steps that I can take? And like, what should I be looking out for?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing you should do is literally read this report. I've told everyone this.
And I dropped that link in the chat for everybody. The link is in all the chats.
Perfect.
All the places.
It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a technical person to understand this. We wanted to make sure when it was written that anyone can understand this. And that's the most important thing, is because there are people out there that are insecure that aren't technical, and we need to make sure that they understand too. Not dumb it down, but make sure that they can understand it too.
Right.
And so that's one of the things. And this is a great way to get started. I would say this. If you're someone who is a security researcher or you're on the technical side, I highly recommend going to Hidden Layers research page. We drop a bunch of blogs that showcase, they're like technical deep dives about vulnerabilities that we've been finding, like 0 days. And we just had one recently with R. So I really recommend is checking that out. I just
want to clarify for the audience. So Hidden Layer, by the way, Chloe's company, they are not an AI company. They're not there developing AI and saying, let's leverage AI to find your vulnerabilities and stuff. Hidden Layer is literally about just the securing your AIs that you're using. So Chloe's not over here building one and then educating you all. She's over here like, this is my full-time job, is to teach you all how to do this better.
Yes.
Which is so important. Like 3 times. Yeah, it's so important too, because what we're seeing with security teams, with the layoffs and everything, like the practitioners on teams, like we don't have the bandwidth to keep up, to go and learn and to try to assess these things for ourselves. So having a company out there who is making it their focus and making it their charge and able to relay that information back to us practitioners in a way that's digestible, that we can implement and whatnot when we're already overtaxed, is just so critical. Because as you had mentioned too, like, this does feel like something where that if we don't make the time to understand this right now, we're already in a world of hurt. Like, let's just face it, like
we're there.
We're already there. In a world of hurt, and it's only gonna get worse if we don't get the time and get the people and get the support to really enable our security teams to not just deal with everything that we've have to deal with already, but now this completely new vector.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like there's a lot of different YouTube videos about like hacking AI and everything, and that's great and everything. But some of that is just like kind of snake oil-ish. Like it's right. A lot of people want clout, I think, and they're not really doing the stuff that I would. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to get into this space, I really recommend checking out the research page. There's a lot of good blogs that show you how we went about finding these vulnerabilities. And then the threat report, no matter what your background is, you should pick this up. No matter if you're a cybersecurity person, if you're not. Honestly, at the end of the day, if you're thinking about what is my job going to be in the next few years, I'm going to tell you what it is going to be. It's going to be also securing AI. So you need to know about that stuff. And it's not just about ChatGPT or LLMs. You need to understand everything. And this is a good start.
Besides, the report and documentation and information that your company provides, like thinking like, different educational vehicles or whatnot, or certifications or anything, like, do you have any recommendations around like, I am, just fresh to this, know it's important, want to understand it more, like, should I go do like an ISACA certification or like some of these other certifications that are popping up, or is there like a particular program maybe at a school somewhere you might recommend? Like, where should some people start? Yeah,
I would say like everyone kind of wants to learn right away, but the thing is, there's not really a lot of stuff out yet that I would recommend at this time. I haven't seen everything either. I just want to put out there. But the one thing that like Hidden Layer, what we do is we do provide like training. So we'll go into companies and, do some red team training to get people aware and get their education levels up on this area. So we do that. But there are definitely companies like textbook companies and certification companies that are right now in the works of getting that going. So I think we're going to see a lot more next year coming out. So everyone just be a little patient and sorry, but it's just like cybersecurity
for the books. Weird.
Just like cybersecurity, we're being reactive once again on everything else. So that's what I would say is I recommend that. And really, if a good starting place is really reading this report and then reach out to anyone on our team, and we're more than happy to answer any questions. We're a good bunch of people that just want to help each other out at the end of the day.
Yeah. I would say throughout the course of my search, because I was charged with learning this recently and I have a desire to learn it. And I'm like, I think frankly I could be good at it, but I don't know because I don't know the tech behind it and all this. So I, couldn't find an all-in-one book, couldn't find like an O'Reilly Blessed book or anything. Like I couldn't find any of the major publishers that I would go to for curriculum on this subject. So I just kind of put together, I asked GPT of all things, what would you recommend? It was like, oh, here's like 12 books. And I was like, I'm going to pick these 6. So I'm just kind of reading those, but it's such a myriad of skills. It does take Python and API, which is what we were discussing earlier, but it also takes understanding that bio part of neural networks and how brains do communicate and how things like regex commands you put into AI are then processed and turned and how the model continues to learn and stuff like that. It's just a lot. It encompasses so much. There won't probably be anyone walking around who's like, I know everything about AI. You can either build an AI or secure an AI or hack an AI, but it's a lot out there, people. Just know it's a lot.
Unless there's an individual who is an amazing data scientist, a developer, and also do cybersecurity and threat research. Maybe.
We want to know who you are.
Maybe.
We'd like to have you on the podcast.
I would love to pick that person's brain because my word, the world
Later has a job for you tomorrow. You can come in and be a C-level. Anyways, it's good times. Well, that was basically all of the AI things that we had for you guys today. Okay. I'm going to go download this report because I was asking Chloe the same thing. I'm like, where can I start? All these things are start here, start with this. No, start with this. I'm going to download the report. I'm going to read it. So I'll do a little post on some feedback for you all on what I gleaned from it. But the last thing we wanted to talk about, we're kind of coming to the end of our time, but our last thing was, leadership in cybersecurity. Both Stacy and Chloe are fortunate in the sense that they have risen to head of or director level positions. And that is so rare to see. And it's rare to see women do it. So, just any of the advice or the strategies on distinguishing yourself as a leader and making those leaps from your mid-level roles into your leadership level roles and things the listeners can do in their own careers.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple different tricks, but I would say is the most important thing is to listen. And what I mean by that is when you're hearing people talking about situations or pains is to hear them and then start working with people on how do we address these pains. I think when you start doing that and you start taking control of those cases or coming up with these strategies, this is good for business. It's also really good for the team. It also addresses the things that people may not have the time to address, but you may want to do that. That's how you get in the door. The other thing, of course, is making sure you work for a company that appreciates you, respects you, and has a good work environment, because it's very hard to raise up if you don't feel like you're being respected at a company. And also dealing with a lot of, ups and downs when you're working in a really bad workplace. That's not going to do anything good for you or your career at the end.
That's sucking all your energy. You can't possibly make rain.
You're never going to. Yeah. So I would say that. The other thing is there is one thing that I think that people should also learn about, which is there's this book called Quiet. So if you're an introvert like myself, it's a really, really good book because it allowed me to feel more comfortable with being an introvert. I would always get really, really exhausted when I would have to put on my extroverted self. And I didn't understand, I just always thought like, oh, if I'm going to be a leader, I have to be this, this person who's extroverted all the time. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think that's actually true anymore. I think in many ways it's still very much like that for some folks. Because I think we always think of this thing that whoever's the loudest in the room is the more confident, more likely to be the leader. And that's not true whatsoever. It can be the quietest person in the room is actually the one who's listening and is like, oh, have I thought about this? So I really recommend if you're an introvert and you're trying to, even no matter where you are in your career, read Quiet. It's a great book. It'll make you feel comfortable with being yourself in a sense of, not having to mask or, trying to put on like this really extroverted personality and just be yourself.
I really love that advice, and especially around like if they're not supporting you, like get out of there. And I heard this quote. I'm listening to this book called Rich AF. I think it's by Vivian Tu, and she basically said if you're not earning or learning, get out of there. And so I, even looking back on my career, I wonder how much further even I could be if I had really taken that to heart too. So I absolutely agree with all of that.
Yeah, if you lose sleep, definitely time to go. Time to go. Absolutely.
And I'm pulling a book link for us on that right now, but kind of brings us to the end of our episode. So Chloe, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sitting down with us today. I always learn a ton when I'm in your presence. Things like ESG was a completely new term to me today. I had no idea that was a thing, and now I'm going to go rabbit hole on that after this episode. So thank you for that. I love that. We will be at RSA next week. I will be there. Stacy is tentative. Stacy has a little bit of she may need to go be there for a friend, which we always encourage and advocate for. So Stacy may not be able to join us, but I will definitely be there. I believe Chloe is going to be there as well. So we will have an RSA recap for you next Friday, everything permitting. But thank you so much for sitting down, for telling us about AI, the work you do, taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us, because I don't know if you all know this, but Chloe was one of the first women I ever Googled when I entered this industry 5 years ago. And I was like, who are the women I could try to be like? Like, who are the people doing the things? And I came across her and I was like, yes. So
well, thank you.
So very touched. Full circle moment for me personally.
Well, thank you for having me on here, and I look forward to seeing everyone at RSA. And until then, stay safe. And yeah.
Speaking of RSA.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure everyone is aware of, I actually think they're sold out at this point, and it's perfect in the vein of just mental health, taking care of yourself, or with me, being there and being support for one of my very close friends. So on Tuesday, May 7th, from 7 to 10 a.m., Mind Over Cyber, a fantastic new nonprofit, is holding a breakfast, and they're going to be doing mindfulness workshops. They're going to be doing podcast interviews. They are facilitating this ally armband challenge to push back on sexual harassment at conferences. They've got free trial codes for 10% Happier, the meditation app, like just lots of other like really great tools and takeaways around mindfulness and mental health. And one key thing that I really got to make sure everyone understands is going to be there and available, and why you should really go is because there's going to be a raffle for a coaching package, a one-on-one coaching package with yours truly. And so this coaching package is something that, I've made the decision to not offer one-on-one coaching to anyone who isn't a Hacker in Heels insider, just because you see out there all these coaches who are pushing for, come work with me and I'll help you get your 6-figure career and all that kind of stuff. And they'll take a bunch of your money and, and then like.
But they're like, you didn't furnish the results. That was on you.
Yeah. So for me, it's like, first and foremost, like I provide a ton of accessibility just through the Hacker in Heels membership as is. And coaching goes both ways. Like you need to also be coachable and be bought in and participating in the process as well. Right. So I always encourage encourage people to start with a Hacker and Heels membership first, come to group coaching, and then from there we can talk about one-on-one, right? So all that to say, this is the only, like, one of the very few times or ways that I will offer a coaching package directly to someone who isn't a Hacker and Heels insider. And so if you are into that, you know, could benefit from some career coaching and whatnot, then please do make sure that you're there. Make sure you attend and you can be part of it. And if not, like, you know, at the very least too, like, you know, just don't miss out on such a fantastic initiative that I know is needed, and you all deserve to take the time to go be part of.
Yeah, if you haven't heard Mind Over Cyber, they're worth a look into. They had their inaugural event at CSOXC last week. It was phenomenal. It was very well received. I'm always, you know, the advocate that if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. So make time for your mental wellness. Mental wellness, mental health are different. They require different things. So be kind to yourself, give yourself grace, go out there, try to slay your goals. We, the Cyber Queens, thank you for spending your Friday with us, and we will see you at RSA. And if not, then we'll see you right after. Bye. And I have my music ready today.